Hi, my name is Raven Ferry Leclerc, and I'm going to be doing my final presentation on the resilience of world influencers. The value behind this, and that I want you guys to see, is that no matter what came between the artists and their work, nothing could stop them from doing what they were doing and inspiring the world. These artists that I chose truly show what it is like to persevere and live their passion through their art. First off, we have Pablo Picasso. Picasso was born in 1881 in Malaga, Spain. His parents provided a great life for him, and he was very quick to learn, skilled at many things. He was a poet, a painter, a sculptor, a stage designer, and many more things. On the right, we see some of his early art. This piece is titled The First Communion. It was done in 1890, and it was shortly after his sister's first communion. His family was very religious, and so was he until later on in his life when he turned to be an atheist. This painting is done in realist style, which just portrays the figures and objects as real as possible with many colors. We then see that he went through a blue period, which is very depressing and sad for him. Obviously, all of his artwork during this period had a blue tone to it, and this painting right here is one of his most famous, The Old Guitarist. He then went to the Rose period, which incorporated a lot more lighter colors and circus people as well. We then hit Cubism. Cubism broke the rule of every Western painting type. For Pablo Picasso, this was a hard time for him because his father did not really approve. He had to go through many arguments and basically had to fend for himself and why this was important to him. He found George Braque, who later became the co-founder of Cubism with him, and actually continued to do Cubism after Picasso decided he did not want to do it anymore. So the resilience part of Picasso's life was that he had to face a lot of different things and overcome it and still continue to paint and show the world his true talents. After poverty, depression, being arrested for he was accused for stealing a painting, and he was arrested because of that. And also during World War I, when many of his supporters and friends got called off to war, he actually got to continue painting and show the world what more he had. The impact on the world was off of Cubism mainly because he did create this different type of art. So those artists listed were some of the first artists around the world to back him and actually take up his style of painting. We then have different types of art that came from him as well, from Cubism exactly, and those are listed below. Lastly, we have the different exhibits that Picasso's artwork is featured in. It's clear to see that he was a very important and influential person throughout the world, seeing as many, many places want his artwork and keep it on display even till today. Next, we have Oscar Niemeyer. Oscar was born in Brazil and considered a loner, an outsider, and got made fun of for being from down there. He was a strict communist and also designed for 8 decades. On the right, you see one of his first designs in action. It's very plain considering where he went later in his life. He also got asked to design a city in his life earlier on in his career, and this seemed like an amazing idea to him, and even the plan seemed amazing to everyone until it actually got put in action. When this city actually got built, there was many structural problems, and because it was pretty small, the people, normal people couldn't afford to live right near all the big buildings, so they ended up having to move outside of the city into what now would be the slums. There were wide streets and few places to sit, so people didn't exactly like walking around the city either. Now that it is the capital, it has changed around and is known for a great, creative, amazing city. Oscar took a big risk, but it ended up being a big payout as well. So the resilience on him is starting off, the US actually denied his visa twice because of his communist views. And so did London. London more shunned him than denied a visa, but he still had to feel that. And he was highly being pressured to change his views just because he wanted to get into other countries and things like that. But he did stay true to Brazil and true to his views, and he worked until his last breath. Was he passed away at, I think, 104 years old, and even when he was about 100, he designed his own line of Converse and things like that. So the influence he had is the curve. So by looking at some of his current architecture, he looks at the female body and tailors his architecture due to that. He said, "I am not attracted to straight angles or to the straight line, hard and inflexible, created by man. I'm attracted to free-flowing, sensual curves." He really wanted to push the limits and create different patterns, easy to recreate patterns, and even organic shapes. He taught the architectures that it's okay to push the limits and it's okay to fail, because as long as you learn from it, you can keep going up. This right here is based off of Oscar's views. It is done by Fernando Romero, and you can see the hourglass shape of a woman, of a feminine woman right there, and it's portrayed in the museum in Mexico. Lastly, we have Celia Cruz. Celia had a very tough life starting out. She lived through poverty in Havana, Cuba, but she did endure and ended up with over 70 albums. She was in over 10 movies. She received honorary degrees from those colleges. And she's known for her high notes, saying "azucar" in her songs, and her happiness. She then, after struggling for a little bit, joined La Sonora Matancera and started creating music like this. So down here, when in Cuba, when she was singing and dancing and all that, she stayed very true to her culture and respected it as much as possible. Then, when she went on tour, she later found out that Fidel Castro had taken over, who was a communist. All of her band that she was with did end up returning to Cuba, except for her. She decided that it was time for her to leave the country and move on to something bigger and better. She then went to the United States of America, where she wasn't really looked at too much until she found the Tito Puente Orchestra. The Tito Puente Orchestra had a huge audience in the United States, which helped her reach that audience as well and start her new life. Her resilience came through in many parts of her life. Throughout the early parts of her life, her father pushed her to quit and become something with a real job. She kept also pushing through her bad knees, her sicknesses, her surgeries, and she even lost her hair, which you will end up seeing in the last slide, where she has the blue colored wig. That's when all of her wigs came into play and she got real fun with it. Also, she overcame being banned from Cuba. She wasn't even allowed to go back to see her mother's funeral. She dropped out of college, but still stood by the quote, "If anything happens, it is God's will, and that will be mine." She really stuck through it to the end and always had a positive note. Down below, you can see she wanted to live in the present, not in the past, which then led her to inspire so many people. Her happiness and her will to continue made her the queen of salsa. Her passion for salsa made her the queen of salsa. And then that led to her inspiring many, many young Hispanic girls and women throughout the world. She's also known for her love over the money and fame. She, like I said, she had passion and love for the salsa, and that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to spread that around the world. She reached so many places and made such an impact that New York even named a street after her, Celia Cruz Way. So in the end, to wrap this all up, Picasso, who fought for the battle of starting a new art genre, made it through and influenced the world. Oscar Niemeyer, who was being shunned and denied a visa in the US, he went on and continued to produce and create many beautiful buildings. Lastly, Celia Cruz, who had battles all of her life but kept on pushing and eventually ended up as the Queen of Salsa, and she touched many people all over the world. Thank you.